Hi everyone, welcome to Stoic Conversations. My name is Michael Tremblay, and this is a shorter solo episode on Epictetus's Handbook 14. Here with Stoic Conversations, our goal is to talk about putting Stoicism into practice, and I think this is a really great example of the discipline of desire. So when you want to put Stoicism into practice, one of the ways the Stoics thought about it was in terms of three disciplines or three areas of study: discipline of desire, the discipline of action, and the discipline of assent. Now, the discipline of desire is around mastering what you desire, mastering what you want, so wanting the right things, and also mastering what the Stoics might call aversion, what you don't want, so being afraid of the right things, putting yourself in a position to avoid or try to avoid the correct things. Action is concerned with how we treat people, the kind of day-to-day decisions we make that make up a courageous or just life. And then the discipline of assent is around how we come to form our opinions, how we come to form knowledge and our beliefs. So it's about correctly reflecting, having good epistemological tools so that we come to believe true things and not believe false things. So this is a three-step program. You see this in Epictetus, but it's in other Stoics. It's in Cicero, it's in Seneca, it's in Marcus Aurelius. And it's something that came from, it's not just an Epictetus thing. It's a built-in part of the Stoic program, is how they conceptualized self-development. And I want to talk about Epictetus' Handbook, chapter 14, because I think it's almost like a crash course in the discipline of desire. And this is one of those, if you're beginning Stoicism, really any level of progress, the discipline of desire is so important for emotional regulation, for dealing with passions, for dealing with suffering. Really a lot of pathos, a lot of these passions that we want to cut out in Stoicism, these wrong ways of thinking about the world, are going to come down to our desires, what we judge to be good, what we want. And so nailing this is really important. And one thing that we talk about on this podcast a lot is that getting desire wrong has these kind of downstream effects as well. So if you desire the wrong kinds of things and then you end up feeling angry or bitter or jealous, then those passions, those negative emotions that are, incorrect or irrational, as the Stoics might say, those are going to have knockdown effects, and they're going to disrupt your ability to perform the discipline of action properly, because they're going to, if you're feeling jealous and angry, it's going to impact your ability to act correctly, walking through the world and going about, your job or your time with your friends. And if you're angry or jealous, you're going to have a harder time forming correct beliefs. The way that you think is going to be influenced by the momentum of these passions, as the Stoic might say, which is really the subjective experience of being angry makes it harder to come to the right conclusions. Same thing with being bitter or jealous or envious or these kinds of things. So with that context, I'll start off with a description of chapter 14 from the Handbook, and I'll break down what I think are the four most important lessons from it, and we'll end with another reading of the passage, and hopefully the passage is a bit more meaningful with the context provided. So there's almost a before and after. So this is Epictetus' Handbook, chapter 14. He says, "You are foolish if you want your children and your wife and your friends to live forever, since you're wanting things to be up to you that are not up to you, and things to be yours that are not yours. You are stupid in the same way if you want your slave boy to be faultless, since you're wanting badness not to be badness, but something else. but wanting not to fail to get what you desire. This you are capable of. A person's master is someone who has power over what he wants or does not want, either to obtain it or take it away. Whoever wants to be free, therefore, let him not want or avoid anything that is up to others. Otherwise, he will necessarily be a slave. So that's Epictetus' Handbook, chapter 14. And like I said, this is really a lesson about the discipline of desire. So the Handbook are these short summaries of Epictetus' longer lessons. Those are the ones you find in the discourses. And this is one focused on the discipline of desire. And I think there are four main ideas here that Epictetus is hitting on. Almost sentence by sentence, you're getting a new idea. The first is that it's foolish to want something that's not up to you. That's the first idea. Second is that it's okay to desire what is up to you. So we do have permission to feel desire if it's directed towards what is up to us. The third idea is that anyone who can control what you want or fear can control you. And fourth, the only free people are the ones who only desire the things up to them. So let's explore these ideas in greater detail. Starting with number one, it's foolish to want something that's not up to you. This is Epictetus' line at the start about you're foolish if you want your children, your wife, your friends to live forever. You're stupid in the same way if you want your slave boy to be faultless. And that's a dated example, but if you think of that as the people that you work with or people you interact with, if you want them to not have their own problems or their own issues, that's what Epictetus is referring to here. And it's foolish for Epictetus because, and Stoicism in general thinks this is foolish, because you're setting yourself up for failure. You're wanting something that you can't control. One, it's kind of a pragmatic concern. And so when you want things that you can't control, you're likely, or at least there's the possibility of failure. Now, in these cases, there's the certainty of failure. If you want your wife and your children, your spouse and your friends to never die, there's the certainty of failure. And so that there's that pragmatic concern. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. But then there's also this almost logical concern, the Stoics would say, or this knowledge concern, that you're actually wanting something that is unnatural. You're wanting the world to be a way the world is not. Marcus Aurelius has this great line that I often repeat along the same lines, which is, don't expect a fig tree not to produce figs. And so don't expect a mortal person, your friends, your partner, don't expect them not to die, because then you're literally hoping the world would be different. I've talked about this before, and I think you can empathize with that desire. You can empathize with that hope. Why somebody would want that? They would want a very bad thing not to occur, or a very scary thing not to occur. So I can empathize why people would want that. But for the Stoics, they almost think of it the same way as, I wish I lived forever, or I wish I had superpowers, or I could fly. It's literally not the way the world works. And so when you attach a lot of value to that, you're both setting yourself up for failure and you're wanting something unnatural. So the first rule of the discipline, or first lesson about the discipline of desire that comes out of this is we want to think carefully about any instances where we desire the world to be how the world is not. And we want to try to remove those because it's foolish to do so. It's both pragmatically ineffective. It's setting ourselves up for suffering. And the Stoic goal is knowledge. The Stoic goal is living in accordance with nature, understanding how the world works, seeing your place in it, and you're blocking yourself from that if you're desiring the world to be different than it fundamentally is. So that's the first lesson. It's foolish to want something that's not up to you. Second lesson is that it's it is okay to desire what is up to you. So we shouldn't desire what's not up to us, but we can desire what's up to us. Epictetus gives an example of something that's up to us, and that's always meeting your desires. The line from the translation I was using says, wanting to not fail to get what you desire. I think that's a bit of a confusing translation, but the point is that it's okay to expect to get what you want, to desire to get what you want, if your wants are things that are up to you. So let me rephrase that in a bit less of a confusing language. Basically, you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you desire things not up to you. You're not setting yourself up for disappointment if you desire things that are up to you, because it's in your control. It's up to you. It's in your power to get those things that are up to you, to achieve those things that are up to you. In other words, we can transform ourselves into the kind of people that always get what we want if we want the things that we can get. We want the things that are up to us. And the way to do this, the way to want the things that are up to us, is then through the discipline of desire. It's through directing our desire towards internal things. For example, virtue, responding well, being kind, courageous, just, and wise, showing the virtues in the way that we act. So, for example, if we use the same example of, it's foolish to desire your partner not to pass away ever. But it's not foolish to desire, well, I will act well when that happens. I will be a good parent to our children. I will be a good partner to them as they pass away. I will be a good friend and family member to other people that are grieving. And that's not a foolish thing to want. That's not a foolish thing to set your desire towards, responding well to that inevitable situation. Again, for those two reasons, both pragmatically, because you can do it, it's achievable, and because it fits with the Stoic conception of virtue, which is mastering the things that are up to you, understanding the world the way it is. And the world the way it is not a place where you can stop natural things like death, but it is a place where you can respond well to it, especially if you train and incorporate Stoicism. So when we direct our desire towards internal states, when we direct our desire towards things up to us, this is not wanting something contrary to nature. It's wanting something that is achievable. It's wanting something that we can reach. And that is the goal of the discipline of desire, is to want things that are up to you, to want things that are certainly achievable. And so not to desire the world to be different or desire the world to be a way it could not be, but to desire a way the world could be that you can reach with certainty by improving yourself and changing yourself. So that's the second idea. It's okay to desire what's up to you. We then get to the third idea of the discipline of desire, or third lesson, I should say, where we get into some more of the pragmatic considerations. So the third one is, anyone who can control what you want or fear can control you. So besides just the irrationality of wanting things you can control, I already raised this pragmatic risk. If you want something external, money, fame, approval, those are typical examples. Epictetus was even using more charitable examples of like the immortality of your loved ones. Then those that can control those things can control you. It's the same with fears. When you want the carrot or you fear the stick, then people with carrots and sticks have power over you. So they can bribe you with what they want, or they can threaten you with what you fear. So you think of this classic story of corruption. People, maybe they enter the public service, they enter government, they enter a job, and they're optimistic, they're idealistic, but then they want something. They set a target. Maybe that's success. Maybe that's achieving a certain position. Maybe that's making a certain amount of money, even if it's so they can still achieve their goal. And then when they're put in that position, then they're able to be corrupted. They're able to be bribed. They're able to be threatened. They want a certain job, so they do a kind of work that would make the younger idealistic them very ashamed. Or the artist wants to make a movie that requires funding, so they make a movie that they feel is selling out, or they partner with a producer in some way that upsets them. The idea is just that you're compromising your character in an attempt to achieve these external things. Because once you start playing in the world of externals, that's what you have to do to reach them. You have to put them above your character. And so Epictetus loves to use the real world examples of tyrants or emperors. They can throw you in jail, or they can cut off your head. So if you're afraid of dying, they can make you do anything, right? The tyrant that can threaten death can make the non-Stoic do anything, because as long as you fear death sufficiently, you will compromise your character to avoid it. And that's the strategy they use. And so that's Epictetus's really radical method. When you read these passages, and it's like a conversation between Epictetus and Emperor, and the Emperor is like, I'll throw you in jail, and Epictetus is like, go ahead, I'll cut off your head. And Epictetus says, who am I to be the only one whose head couldn't get cut off? When did I think I was impossible to be beheaded? Things like this. And there's almost a humor to it, but he's showing almost an imaginative picture of what it would be like to confront an emperor or a dictator if you weren't afraid, and the powerlessness they have over you, at least over your internal character, as long as you're not afraid. And so that's that lesson. I think about this one a lot. In my own life. If you want something someone else has or can give you, then they're able to control you. And I should say not just want, but desire, right? Desire is for the Stoics, it's a really strong kind of want. I always use the example, I want ice cream, but I don't think I desire ice cream, and I don't think the ice cream man is able to control me. So those kind of things are fine. You can want external things. You can prefer them, as the Stoics would say. But that real desire, that idea that, well, the quality of my life depends on this. I need to get that next raise, that promotion, that next opportunity to be happy. Those kind of ideas are very dangerous, and that's where people are able to exert control over you. And so, that's going to be natural as you're progressing as a Stoic. We can't just remove ourselves from that immediately. But I think the beginning step of the discipline of desire is at least to be aware of it, is to say, be aware that other people exert control over you because they have control over the things you desire. And at least I would say step one is to at least note that, or to identify when that's happening. Things you desire and things you also fear, right? So that's the third lesson. Anyone who can control what you want or fear can control you. And that connects to the fourth lesson. The only people who are free are the ones who only desire the things up to them. It's a really radical Stoic idea. So because of the third point, the only people that are free are those that have mastered the discipline of desire. They are free to do what they want because they can't be controlled by others. When you only want internal things, to be a good person, to have knowledge, to act well, then someone else can't threaten you because their threats can't compromise internal goals. The emperor that threatens to throw you in jail to cut off your head, they can't say, I'll make you a bad person, I'll corrupt your character. They're saying, I'm going to hurt your body. I'm going to throw your body in jail. This is a point Epictetus makes. Well, you can do these things to my body, but you can't harm me. You can fetter my leg, but you can't control. A bribe can't compromise these internal goals either, because you won't be tempted. Maybe you prefer money, maybe you prefer the thing being bribed, but you won't desire it above a good character. Because of that, no one external to you can determine your behavior. No one external to you can control you. There's this idea today of FU money. This is something Nassim Taleb has written about. I know he writes about this in Anti-Fragile. It's something else I've seen other people comment on. It's the idea of having enough money to say FU to anyone. It's basically freedom, or a form of freedom, by obtaining enough material wealth. If I have enough money, if I have enough money and my boss tells me to do something I don't want to do, I say, screw off. I'm not going to do it. If I have enough money and somebody at a dinner party, and a powerful, important person at a dinner party is saying something I disagree with, I can call them out on it because I'm basically materially secure. And so I don't need to worry about external consequences because I already have enough external wealth. This is this ironic, it's a way of achieving the Stoic goal through this external success. And the Stoics are obviously going to be very critical of this. But the Stoics, they do want that same kind of attitude. They do want that FU attitude, but without needing the money. The ability to say, really, screw you to anyone, even an emperor, except it's free. You don't need to become a multimillionaire first. You don't need to become incredibly externally successful first. You just need to master your desires first. If you don't desire what they're bribing you with, or you don't fear what they're threatening you with, well, then they don't. Even an emperor can't exert any control over you, and that's the Stoic insight. I guess pragmatically, is that look, you can do it for free. You can get there. You can get there immediately, and that has this appeal. But then there's this other concern that the reason you're able to say FU when you've mastered the Stoic discipline of desire is because you actually have what you need. The Stoics would criticize the FU money pictures. They say, well, you've got enough of what you think you need. And so you can't be bribed by more money because you have lots of money, but you don't have a complete life yet. But if you perfect your character, or if you desire focusing on your character, well, then you have a path to what you need, and you don't desire what somebody else can bribe or threaten you with. And so that's the last lesson, that the only free people are the ones who desire only the things up to them. So going through those lessons again, as a summary, first, it's foolish to want something that's not up to you. Second, it's okay to desire what is up to you. I mean, I would make that language even stronger now. It's not just okay, it's good. It's what you should be doing. Third, anyone who can control what you want or what you fear can control you. And fourth, the only free people are the ones who desire only the things up to them. And that's a crash course in the discipline of desire. Don't desire the things that are not up to you. Desire the things that are not up to you. And if you do that, you can't be controlled. You can't be bribed. And so you'll be free. You'll be the only free person. That FU money example, the Stoics would provide a lot of counterexamples. They might say, well, there's always a chance you'll lose your money and then you'll be back to square one. There are people that can take away your money. There are tyrants in Epictetus' time who are powerful enough to confiscate your wealth. Seneca was a very rich man and he was sentenced to death by Nero. So there are ways that people can exert power over you even if you're externally wealthy. They just need to be more externally wealthy. They need to be more powerful. So it's not two different paths to freedom here. The Stoics would say there's only really one path to freedom. And so with those four lessons in mind, that kind of crash course in the discipline of desire, I'll read out Epictetus' Handbook, chapter 14, one last time, and maybe it will make a bit more sense or it will have a bit more of that context to flesh it out. So to finish us off, here is Epictetus' Handbook, chapter 14. You are foolish if you want your children and your wife and your friends to live forever, since you're wanting things to be up to you that are not up to you, and things to be yours that are not yours. You are stupid in the same way if you want your slave boy to be faultless, since you're wanting badness not to be badness, but something else. But wanting not to fail to get what you desire. This you are capable of. A person's master is someone who has power over what he wants or does not want, either to obtain it or take it away. Whoever wants to be free, therefore, let him not want or avoid anything that is up to others. Otherwise, he will necessarily be a slave.
Thanks for listening to Stoic Conversations. Please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share it with a friend. If you want to dive deeper still, search Stoa in the App Store or Play Store for a complete app with routines, meditations, and lessons designed to help people become more stoic. And I'd also like to thank Michael Levy for graciously letting us use his music. You can find more of his work at ancientlyre.com. And finally, please get in touch with us. Send a message to stoa@stoameditation.com if you ever have any feedback, questions, or recommendations. Until next time.